Okay. So again, the reason you're here is because you hadn't gone down the road of applying for PPP in the past for whatever reason, or you had and something got screwed up and it never quite took shape, or I arm wrestled you into being here at 11 o'clock this morning. One or all of those things might be real for you. And so, wherever you're here, I'm appreciative, mostly because I'll tell you that I kind of just took a stand for you for these funds for a couple of different reasons. And I want to just run through those reasons with you quickly. Number one, every time that I'm on a Zoom with Gary, which is about every other week now, he reminds us that the financial ramifications of what we're experiencing right now in this country have yet to be seen. And what he's projecting, what he's looking forward at is, it may seem like it's raining transactions right now. It may seem like everything is like, woohoo, back to the good old days. And yet we don't know what the fall and what the winter will bring. We don't know where all of this is going. And it's the unknown of all of this that continues to make you as business owners the opportunity to apply for these funds. It makes you as business owners, it gives you as business owners that kind of pause, or at least I would think it gives you the pause to say, is the responsible thing to do to make sure that my business continues to function? Because remember, the whole purpose of these funds was to make sure that your business continues to function if something should go sideways. These funds were not necessarily earmarked for the original time period of shutdown. That's why the new additional laws have extended these time periods about how and when you can use these funds. And even if you're in a position to say, you know what, my business is going gangbusters, I kind of don't feel like I need these funds right now. I looked just before we got online, and there is still over $100 billion of PPP funding that has gone unused. So if you're kind of in that position of, I don't want to take them because there are people who need them more, well, there's no way that all the people who actually need them and qualify for them are going to apply between now and Saturday to obtain them, right? So you're not taking it from anybody. The second thing I would encourage you to look at is, again, as a responsible business owner, building reserves in your business is one of those things that you should be really cognizant of, whether you have or don't have. And so if this allows you to build a small nest egg, build a small reserve inside of your business, it prepares you for the what if things go sideways in the next 6 to 12 months. Third, some of you were concerned about how it kind of dovetails with the unemployment, the PUA that you may have been receiving. Well, so the PUA, the $600 a week portion of the PUA, that's gone, right? That expired on Friday, and so now you're down to whatever your non-PUA enhanced unemployment might be if you're still collecting. And the way PPP and unemployment go hand in hand, you absolutely can and are eligible for both. However, you just can't use them both in the same week. So if you're continuing along on unemployment, right, even with the PUA gone, you may still be eligible for just the base version of the unemployment moving forward. If that's still a part of your weekly income and you obtain PPP funds, the weeks that you write yourself a check as salary from your business with PPP funds, just like if you had a closing during your unemployment period, you would report those funds that week. Well, you would report the funds that you're using from PPP that week, which likely will eliminate your unemployment for that week. So you can use both, you just can't double dip. You can't use both in the same week. You have to continue to honestly report any income that you received, even if it's from PPP funds given to you to continue to run your business, or the salary, the payroll portion of your business. So for all of those reasons, I encourage anybody who did not jump in and obtain some of these funds to do so now. worst case scenario, if you're really opposed to obtaining these funds and using them for yourself, what I would say is, who do you know that wasn't eligible because they didn't have real estate income last year that you could gift them to? What if you could just stick them in a 529 for a grandchild that might come along someday, right? I know some of you have like unicorn grandchildren that might appear someday, right? So what if you did it? What if you did that with it? I mean, or gave it to charity? My part of why I'm kind of drilling people to dive in and obtain these funds is that $100 billion, you obtaining some of those funds is not even a dent in what was appropriated. And if we don't utilize these for this purpose, they're just going to be reappropriated by Congress for something else. And it could be for something stupid, right? Maybe we'll buy a tank, or maybe we'll buy a whatever. And not that defense is stupid. I'm not making a political statement here. I'm just saying that our government's ability to reappropriate funds for things that you kind of look at and say, well, gee, it would have been nice if I accepted these funds and gave them to my church rather than somebody going and buying whatever. So that's why I'm encouraging you to dive in and apply and grab the thing, grab what is due. It's also the only time in our lifetime, and I don't care how old you are on this call, the youngest of us, it is the only, which notice I say youngest of us, which I know I don't fit in anymore, but the youngest of you who are on this call, it's the only time in your lifetime that someone's going to say, here, why don't you have some of these funds? And you know what? Don't worry about giving them back. So there's lots of reasons to, in my opinion, to jump in and grab what's available to you. Any questions, concerns on that before we dive into the demo? Barbara, hold on, let me unmute you. You have to unmute on your end.
Okay, I'm good. I just sent you this message. How long can you hold the funds without dispersing them? Like,
great question.
Another account.
Great question. So for you as independent contractors, you are going to receive the money and immediately, based on the rules, immediately start paying yourself a salary. Right now, until or unless things change, which they are likely to change, but right now it's 850 seconds of the money. So I'll show you how you qualify and what you qualify for. But there's an 8-week rule. However much your net profit was last year, 8 weeks of that, so 52 weeks would be your whole net profit, Schedule C, line 31. Divide that by 52 and multiply by 8. That's how much you are currently allowed to ask for forgiveness for. So you would just divide those funds that you receive by 8, pay yourself 8 weekly payments so that you have the documentation for forgiveness. And then once you pay yourself your salary, you can do whatever you want with those funds. There's no minimum time to hold them. The rule is you have to start dispersing immediately once you receive them, because it's supposed to be for payroll replacement in your business. And because we don't necessarily have employees, we don't have actual payroll to replace, it's the substitution of your kind of your owner profit, if you will, right? Your self-employment income that it's replacing. Does that answer that, Barbara?
Yes, perfect.
So once you distribute it as a payment from your business to your personal, you can use it however you want.
And that payment can be according to your line 31.
It will absolutely be based on your line 31. You'll be eligible for a bit more, and we're going to dive through that right now. You'll be eligible for a little bit more than the 8 weeks. You're actually eligible for 10 weeks. And then the overage right now, until they change the rules, I'm advising people just to set aside, because it's likely they're going to change the rules that the whole piece of it is forgivable. But right now, only 850 seconds are forgivable, and you're receiving 1050 seconds as the loan.
Great.
Any other questions before we dive into the demo? Okay, so let's do this. Here's how we're going to work this. I'm going to flip into Kabbage.com. I'm going to run through this. On Kabbage, as if I was applying, right? Now, so Chris DiBiase and I worked yesterday to get his account and his application right to the point of document uploading. So we're going to work me through just until we say go. We're not going to submit my application. And then we're going to flip over into Chris's account so we can demo uploading of the documents. Does that make sense for everybody? So that's how we're going to do this. So let me share my screen with you. So the first thing I want you to know is this. Inside of Kabbage.com, which is Kabbage, it's Kabbage with a K. For business types where you do not have employees, these are the things that you need. You need a color copy of your ID, either your license or your passport. You need a 1040 Schedule C from your 2019 tax return. And then you need your 1099 MISC for 2019 as well. And then I'll show you as we get into it, this last requirement here, an invoice, bank statement, or some kind of record to establish that you were in business prior to February 15th. We're going to show you what some of your colleagues have used based on just kind of diving into the MLS and a bank statement. So we're keeping it very simple, and they've been approved with those things. So these are the things that you'll need to have in order to upload, and we'll show you that as we go. So if you go to Kabbage.com, on the home page, it says apply for Paycheck Protection Program loans. And if you scoot down here, ready to apply for a loan, you can click here on apply now. And so you set up an account. Oops. Set up your account with the correct style of password. Does anybody else struggle with passwords lately? I'm glad it's not just me. There's more rules for passwords than I think there are to actually apply for a PPP loan. So you'll set up an account. That'll be your first task. It'll say, let's get started, and you can say, okay, let's get started. And the process is relatively simple. I think it took Chris and I only about 10 or 12 minutes to do this on Sunday. Maybe it was a smidge longer. Would you agree, Chris, it was only like 10 or 15?
Yeah, it was quick.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then you get to this kind of blah, blah, blah about the PPP, and you're going to click on apply now. As an independent contractor, as a self-employed person, your business name will simply be your name. Right, so I'll apply as me. If you have sort of a team name or whatnot, you can certainly put that in, and you will click the little box here to say, I do business under a different name. However, most of you do business and receive your paychecks as just you, right? This business under a different name really only applies to you if you have brokered a separate entity like an LLC that we pay directly. So if we pay you directly as the licensee, you're going to use your name and not check this other box. Even if you have a team name that's kind of like a DBA, but we don't pay it officially, you're still going to use just your name. And click continue. What's your legal name? For most of you, that will be the same answer that you just gave in your business name. And you input that. And then, of course, your business phone number. And then you do have to click this I agree box. P.S. I am recording this, and I'm going to ask Adonis to transcribe it and post it right after we're done here. So certainly by early afternoon, you can go to the YouTube channel and replay if it would be helpful for you to follow along while you're doing the actual application. So you will check the little box here that says I agree. It basically just says I understand that Kabbage is going to do all this stuff for me, and I'm giving my consent for them to do it. And continue. How many employees did you have as of February 15th, 2020? The answer is 1. Even for those of you who might have an assistant or might have people on your team, they don't count as employees because you're applying for this PPP loan, these funds, as a solo self-employed person. That's why you're using your Schedule C, line 31, income to drive this. If you have employees, that would be, those employees would have to be on payroll and you would apply differently for that. And so if anyone on this call has that scenario, just text me and we'll have a conversation afterwards. But for most of you, it's going to be 1 employee and that's you, and then continue. Again, unless you have specifically LLC'd, brokered an LLC, or have some other version of how you pay yourself, sole proprietorship is going to be how you function. Understand that some of you have set up S Corps, right? If you pay yourself through the S Corp, well, then you are actually an employee and you have to file for this differently. You have to file as the S Corp with you as an employee. So it's a different process. So again, if that's you, text me and see me afterwards, but I think most of you are using your Schedule C as self-employment income, so you just click on the sole proprietorship button here. And it'll drop down to say exactly what that looks like in most cases, right? You don't have an EIN because your EIN is your social security number, and you'll submit the Schedule C from your 1040. The Form 940 and W-3 are, again, only if you have actual W-2 employees that you pay. So you'll choose sole proprietorship, and then you'll click here at Select and Continue. Do you or your business classify as any of the following? Most of you will simply choose independent contractor. Right? I don't think it matters if you choose independent contractor or self-employed individual. Chris, just remind me, we chose, are you still here?
We did self-employed.
We did self-employed, okay. So I apologize, guys. We're gonna use self-employed individual, again, because you're using your Schedule C. The good news is that I got somebody's documentation who put themselves through this already, who was approved, and we're just kind of copying what she did. So that's how we know this will work when you do it this way. So you're going to choose self-employed individual and click continue. What is your 6-digit NAICS code? Now you might ask, what is that? And I will tell you, I have no idea, and I don't know why it's important. So what we did yesterday was we made sure that we had this code available for you. You can write this down so you don't have to go through this whole search. Your code is 531210.
So Rick,
Yes, sir.
I just went back to my application and checked. We did independent contractor. Sorry.
Really?
Yes. For business type, right?
Yeah, so, okay, so yeah, again, here, your number is 531210, right? You can write that down and you'll click real estate agents and brokers. So 531210 is what you'll put here. In that last step where we chose self-employed, frankly, guys, I don't think it matters if you choose independent contractor or self-employed, because in your scenario, both are true. So what we do know is that using the application that got processed and approved, the application had independent contractor chosen. So you may want to change that step to independent contractor. But again, I think either one makes sense. 531210 is your NAICS code. Type that in and then choose it and then hit continue. Is the applicant a franchise? So remember, just because you are affiliated with a franchise doesn't mean that you personally as the applicant are a franchise. So your answer here would be no, you are not a franchise. When did you start your business? This is just month and year of when you were licensed. Month and year of when you were licensed. If you don't know what that date is, your MCA does. So just reach out to either Deb Linke or Sam Lopez and ask the question of them. They can look it up in our records and tell you what your real estate start date was. Month and year, if you can't remember if it was May or June, it doesn't really matter, right? Just pick one. I would pick the earlier of the two. If you're off by a month, it's no biggie. So for me, that was 1298. God, that makes me old. Oh, now it's going to rub it in by making sure I say 1998. All right. I guess it's better than 1898, right? In 2019, did you file a 1040 Schedule C to report your net earnings? I'm assuming that the reason you're on this call is because you have completed your 2019 taxes and you do file a Schedule C to report your net earnings, right? That's business ownership for your net earnings. So be sure now it's going to ask you to put in the actual number of your 2019 Form 1040 Schedule C, right? So remember, Schedule C is not, it won't be that line 31 may be the same as your 1099, but most of the time it's not the same because Schedule C will back out any of your deductions from running your business, right? I spoke to somebody this morning who said, my line 31 is 0. Well, they made a whole bunch of money, but they also had a whole bunch of deductions and they had an accountant that kind of worked things out where their actual net profit was 0. So the good news is they don't pay a whole lot of taxes, and yet they're not eligible to apply in this form because they don't have anything on 2019 Form 1040 Schedule C. Your line 31 has to be more than $2,400 in order to be eligible. So I'm just going to put a number in here that says my line is $60,000, right? Now, for any of you who have a number that is over $100,000, this caps at $100,000. So if you put in my line 31 was $128,000 or $200,000, it will, the math later on will reduce that as if your net income was, your net earnings were $100,000 because that's the max that you can have. If you have not filed for 2019 yet, you cannot use 2018. It has to be 2019. So if you have not filed your 2019 taxes yet, I would call your accountant and say, dude, you need to get me a Schedule C that I can use like really quick, really quick. And hit continue. In 2019, did you file a Form W-3 for yourself or for your employees? Again, your answer will be no, because you're self-employed. Is the United States the principal place of residence for all employees? Yes, unless that's no for you, but I'm pretty sure that I know where all of you live, so that's a yes. Has the applicant received an EIDL loan? Now, some of you may, let me just go back to the chat. Scott, I'm going to get to that in half a second. Has the applicant received an EIDL loan? Some of you in the beginning may have applied. If you remember, there was the PPP and then there was the EIDL. The EIDL promised a loan application that was always a loan with the possibility of an up to $10,000 forgivable grant as an advance. They then changed those rules for anyone who applied, and because so many people applied, they couldn't give out $10,000 to everybody, so they gave out $1,000 to people who applied, and then your loan came later on. If you received one of those EIDL $1,000 you have to say yes here. If you took an SBA EIDL actual loan, you have to say yes here as well. My guess is that for most of you, the answer is going to be no here. Yes, and so if you were approved for one and declined it, the answer would still be no, because the question is, have you received a loan? So if you didn't take the money, because there was a bunch of us who said, oh my God, let's do everything we can possibly do. And then as things seemed to sort themselves out, they came back with, here's your loan amount. And some of us said no. Is this one making sense? Again, if you did receive the $1,000, you'll have to click yes here, and it'll probably ask you for what that amount was, because it plays into the forgiveness portion later on. But most of you, the answer will be no. And so then it will calculate exactly what you're eligible for, right? So at $60,000, I'm going to show you what the math is on your Schedule C. Line 31, whatever your number is, you're going to divide that number by 12 and multiply the answer by 2.5. That's how they get this. So I said $60,000. 60,000 divided by 12 is $5,000 as an average monthly payroll calc. Times 2.5 is 12,500. So that's how you know how much you are actually eligible for to receive as the loan. Scott asked if I have multiple Schedule Cs, do I file once or many times? So if you have multiple businesses, you may have multiple Schedule Cs. I'm not 100% sure of that answer. What I can do, Scott, is get you some phone numbers or email addresses for Cabbage, and you can ask that question directly of them. And if you wouldn't mind, let us know what the answer is in case somebody else is in that same boat. I think the answer is you can batch them, because you have to just load up so if you have one that has 5 different businesses at $20,000 each, you can batch them and apply as if you had $100,000 in net income. I think that's how you can do it, but they're going to have to tell you that specifically. Questions so far? We know where we're at. So now you're at this point where they're telling you what your loan is. So you say, yay for me, you click continue. Now, just one other note, if your Schedule C, right, if you made $100,000 and your accountant whittled down your Schedule C because of deductions, and your Schedule C says, $20,000 or, $18,000, something smaller than what you actually earned, unfortunately, that line 31 will drive your eligibility. Not your 1099. So if you took an SBA loan that was after April 3rd, that it was completed and dispersed, that question was pretty specific in terms of the dates. And so if yours fell outside of those dates, my answer would be no, because you're still validly answering the question if it fell outside of those dates. All right, and we click continue. Is everyone with me so far? Cool. So please estimate what percentage of the loan will be spent in each of the following categories over the 24 weeks after the loan is deposited. Note, at least 60% of the loan proceeds must be used to cover payroll. I will tell you that as independent contractors, the way I'm working the independent contractor side on my own PPP is 100% payroll costs. 100% payroll costs is at least 60% covering payroll. And for most of you, it's a harder road to hoe if you have to justify. Most of you don't have business rents. Most of you don't have business mortgages, right? They're really personal mortgages and personal rents that you pay. And so I think if you can push the payroll costs right to 100%, you don't have to worry about the nickel and diming to try and make up the other stuff. Nowhere does it say you can't use 100% of this loan to cover 100% of payroll. It just has to be at least 60% that you're using for payroll, and 100% is greater than 60%. So for me, I would put in 100% payroll and click continue. Citizenship status. Most of you will just click on US citizen unless you are something else. Social security number. You know what? Well, that's not my real social security number. So in case it like double checks me and I click continue and we get bounced back, I may have to change it. No, okay, good. So what's your job title? When we did Chris's, we tried king, and so you can try queen as well. I think that works. No, truly what we simply wrote was owner, right? Because as a business owner, you are the owner of the business that you're applying for. So simply use that. What you do is real estate agent or realtor. Your job title inside of your own self-employment world is the owner of the business. So use owner. Business address, you can put in whatever your actual home address is, because as a self-employed business owner, your home address is typically the business address that you file your taxes under. If for some reason you use a different address to file your taxes other than your home address, you would use that address as your business address, because at some point everything has to line up and match, but for most of you it will simply be your home address. Then it's going to ask your home address. So business address was the first one, your home address is the second one. For most of you, again, you'll just click this little box up here that says use my business address, so it'll just copy from the page before. If your home address and your business address are different, do make sure that you type in the information appropriately and hit continue. Your date of birth, and continue. Phone number. I think it asked for business phone number earlier, right? For many of you, it's the same number. And continue. What percentage of your business do you own? For most of you, that's going to be 100% of your business is owned by you. Again, if you have some sort of other structure or partnership, much of this process may be different. So give me shoot me a text and we'll talk separately afterwards. Then you have a bunch of questions you have to answer. Is the applicant presently suspended, debarred, blah, 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 in bankruptcy? So you have to answer these questions honestly. For most of you, the answers will be no, no, and no, right? Have you ever obtained a guaranteed loan from the SBA or any other federal agency that's currently delinquent, right? So if you have delinquencies with a government loan, you have to tell them that as well. And are you the owner of any other businesses or have common management with any other businesses? Now, for those of you who might have additional businesses, you'll need to answer yes here. And typically, it's going to ask you, I think what it opens up is just name the other businesses with some tax IDs, unless they're the same kind of self-employed businesses where you just use your social security number. So it just wants to make sure that you're not double dipping is the reason they asked this question. And for most of you, it will be no. So again, most of you on this page, no, no, and no, and you hit continue. Is the applicant or the owner a debtor in a bankruptcy proceeding? Hopefully no, and hopefully these funds will keep it that way. Is Richard Scott, so are you part of a larger corporate group? For most of you, that's going to be no. So again, these questions typically no and no, and then continue. Is the applicant currently subject to any criminal charges or incarcerated or on parole? Hopefully I would know about that if that was the case. So I think the answer for most of you is no. And do me a favor, if you have to answer yes to that, just give me a quick heads up on that so I understand where your real estate license might be in trouble. And then of course you have to put in your initials. So when you say no, I'm not a criminal. And then the second question is also more questions about are you a criminal? So you're typically saying no and then putting your initials and then continue. And then you have all of these other certifications that you have to make. I will leave them to you to read. I won't read them to you. I will tell you that for nearly 100% of you, all of these will be checked. Besides, they kind of have to be checked in order to be approved. But do read them and make sure that you agree with them, because you're certifying, how you're going to use the funds, that you were in business during the right time period. This one, current economic uncertainty makes the loan request necessary. The government has already said that if you are applying and receive anything less than $2 million in PPP funds, that you automatically qualify for the need, right? That's what they have, they've said that blanket. So you don't have to feel weird saying, yes, the economic uncertainty makes this loan request necessary, because you've already been grandfathered in by the government to say it's necessary for you. So you check all these little suckers and hit continue. And then you review, because it goes through and says, okay, last step, just review. This is the money, this is me, this is my stuff, zippity doo dah, right? Change anything that might need to be changed with the little pencil. You can go back and edit. And then you just make another certification here that you're eligible and that you did all the right work and you're not lying and that all this stuff. Check the box, and then you'll click Submit Application. I am not going to click Submit Application because I'm not submitting this. However, this is where, Chris, are you ready to share your screen?
Yes.
Okay, so when you click Submit Application, what's going to happen is you are going to then see this screen that Chris is going to show us now.
Can you see it?
We can.
Okay.
So I'm just going to get rid of a couple of things on the screen here, including my chat, so I can see a little bit more. Okay, there we go. So when you click Submit, it brings you to this page.
So that last page was just the application overview.
Right. So it brings you to this page right here, right? When you click Submit, it's going to bring you right here and say, okay, just a couple more steps. Step number 1, answer all the questions. You'll now note is complete. Step number 2 is submit requested documents, right? And if you remember, we showed you those documents that you needed to upload in the very beginning. So now Chris is going to upload some of his documents. Before he does that, however, he's going to click that upload, and now he's going to be in this screen to locate all of his files. Before he does that, I just wanted to, I'm gonna stop your share a second, Chris, because I want to show people the other 2 pieces. Let me just find them on my screen. Okay, there it is. So other than your 1099, a color copy of your government ID, which is either your passport or your license, and your Schedule C, we're also suggesting that you submit these couple of things. The first all right, crap, sorry, hold on a half second, guys. The first is a no payroll statement, which says just this: I apply as a self-employed person and do not have payroll. It's just to guarantee, so it just saves you some questions and steps on the back end. This way they know that it wasn't a mistake, that you're actually applying as a self-employed person. So just write a little simple statement and include that in your upload as well. The other thing that we're suggesting that you send.
Rick, can you just put that back up for a quick second?
Yes. Well, I thought I could. Hold on. Where did it go? Where did it go? Oh, for goodness sake. All right. Hold on. I have to open it again. There you go.
Rick, I texted to Todd.
Oh, perfect. Right. So as a self-employed person, I do not have any payroll. Again, it can say any version of that, just a simple one-liner, your name and your telephone number. Then we're suggesting that you send some version of something from the MLS. Because remember, you have to prove to them that you were in business prior to February of 2020, or at least in business during February of 2020 or beforehand. So if it were me, I would just run a simple one-line report from the MLS showing that your listings or your sales dated late 2019, maybe early 2020. Just a one-line report, plus print one or two of these. If they're your listings, you can see at the bottom, it will say your name at the bottom so they can see that these were business deals of yours. If you were the buyer's agent, it will say the buyer's agent, your name will be underneath this on a sale, right? So just print one or two of these plus the one-line report just to give them an idea that you were in business in the time period that you had to be in business, which was prior to February of 2020. Make sense? And then the last thing that we're suggesting that you send in is a simple copy of your bank statement from February. What Silva sent in was she sent her business account, just a running. She chose her health insurance premium and just kind of give them an idea that this bank account was up and running from 2019 forward. Some version of your bank statement. If you have a business account, even better. But if you don't, I don't think that's a big deal. So great question, Josh. If all closings go through the team, you may want to ask Lisa Katz for a printout of your closings because your market center will have your closings attributable to you. So just ask your MCA for a specific printout of your closings for 2019 and 2020. Scan those and send that. Christy, same for you, right? So if you're on a team and you don't have MLS recognition in the, if you don't have personal recognition in the MLS, ask your MCA for a specific run of 2019 and 2020 closings in your name and just write on that before you scan it to send proof of being in business prior to February of 2020. And that should cover that. Does that help, Josh and Christy? Okay, perfect. We're all good? You with me? All right. Now let's just show you how.
Rick?
Yes.
What was it getting? Is it February 2019? We should have the bank statement from?
So February of 2020, right? What you want to show them is that you were in business. If you have a business bank account, the business had to have been running prior to February 15th of 2020. So a January statement or a February statement would work as long as it's a business account. If it's not a business account, I would submit it anyway. Likely the MLS data is enough. The bank account information is for somebody who doesn't have like an MLS to print proof from. So it's kind of one or the other. We're just suggesting if you have both, send both so that they don't come back to you and say, can you also send me more information? It'll just streamline the process.
So a statement from January 2020 or February 2020 is fine for that month?
Yes,
Okay.
sir. That's what we've seen work, yes.
Cool, thank you.
Sure thing. All right. Chris, share your screen again. We're just going to show you how to upload these documents and then we will be done. So the first thing Chris did was on that last page, click in step number 2 to get him to this page. And then he's going to click on upload a document. Now what Chris did, which we do also suggest, is make a folder that says PPP or cabbage and have each of the pieces that you need to upload in that separate folder. It makes it simpler when you click on the upload a file.
Yeah,
So
instead
that's
of
take it over.
1099 Schedule C.
Can you choose more than one at a time, Chris, and do a bunch at one time?
It's specifically asking for this one right here. So
Okay, got it.
I honestly don't. Oh no, please only upload one at a time. Okay.
Okay, there you go. So that answers that question. So only upload one at a time, guys. Oh yeah, so you'll see on the left-hand side, see where it says we need additional documents? It's actually walking you through what document is needed. And we click next, and then it needs something else. So now it needs his 1099. So he's going to go and find the 1099. Upload that sucker.
Invoice, bank statement, or book of record. So this is the one, I'm gonna use the one-liner that I prepared.
Yeah, and so what's interesting is that this actually doesn't say upload one at a time. So I think you could probably upload the remaining documents because see that one at a time thing is gone.
Yeah.
So I would click on whatever else you're going to send and upload them.
Yeah, so I did the one-liner for production and I did the letter. I didn't do a bank statement.
Okay, excellent.
Oh no, it's too large of a file.
Huh.
Oh.
Okay. All right, so just try the one line. Yeah. Yeah, see, so I think we ran into this issue when I did it with Silva as well, where it asked for those specific documents and then it wouldn't let us upload anything else. So I can't remember if there's someplace later where you can upload additional docs or you just have to wait for them to come back to you and say, here are the additional docs. But those 4 should get most of you through the gates of application.
Yeah, and at least you'll have it ready if they do come back and ask for stuff like that.
Indeed. So now you'll note the loan status is accepted and it's being reviewed. And so they'll communicate via email, is my understanding. So watch for emails from Cabbage. And again, what comes next, if you look here on the right-hand side, complete requests. Right? They might come back to you and ask for more stuff. Somebody told me this morning that when they submitted their Schedule C, they came back and asked for the full tax return for reasons unknown, but they asked for the full tax return, right? But it's a pretty simple process. If you run into any issues while you are handling requests, just reach out and let me know. I can ask some of the folks in the office who have successfully navigated this site. But most of them, it was pretty simple, and it was only a couple of it was either an afternoon or a couple of days. So Chris should look out for word back within the next couple of hours and expect an approval in the next couple of days. Once they approve it, they dump the money into a bank account, either with Cabbage or a bank account that you advise them to dump it into. And then Yeah, so Hi's asking, the screen said add deposit info. I would wait until I was approved to share my deposit information on that. That's just me. I like to, I want to know what else they need and make sure that they're ready to wave a check, and then I'll tell them where to put it.
So Rick, the 4 breakdowns for uploading were the Schedule C, the government docs, like the license and all, the 1099, and then the one-liner and the letter that we saw.
Yeah, and because the file size was too big for Chris to do the letter and the production, he just did the production. If you have to do one of them, the production is what they're looking for to make sure you were in business prior to.
Oh, I was thinking it wouldn't upload as listings. I was thinking maybe that the color and everything was making the file too big, but it was just, you were just trying to do the one-liner and the letter?
And the letter, yeah. Now, if you PDF things and shrink them a little bit, for lesser quality, you may not run into that issue. So as you're looking at that, just know that if you have an opportunity to PDF and shrink the file size a little bit, I couldn't tell you how to do that. But if you know how to do that, make them as small as possible so that you can get as much in as possible. But yes, those are the 4. And as you go through, Lori, it will tell you on the left-hand side, please do this one now. Please do this one now. So you can just follow the prompts for the 4 documents.
Yeah, I just wanted to break them out so the way they should be, so ready to upload.
Yeah, indeed. And Hi makes a good suggestion. If in fact you're PDFing maybe the production and that no payroll letter, if you PDF them together and the file size is less than 50 whatever it said, you could upload it as one document. So that's another way to do that. Anything else on this process? I know we took a long time to get through it, and yet when you're sitting just doing it yourself, you're not listening to me talk, and you're just going to type it in, and I think you can do the application itself in about 10 or 12 minutes, and then you're uploading. It's prepping the docs that might take you a little longer to make sure you have everything that you need.
Rick, I have a question.
Yes.
First of all, thank you so much for walking us through this and taking the time to research all of this. This is very, very helpful. As far as, can you just talk a little bit about the forgiveness nature again about this loan, and if whether or not we need to set aside any of this money for taxes?
Yeah, so great question. So the forgiveness aspect is right now, I will tell you what we know for sure. What we know for certain is that what will be forgiven is your Schedule C line 31 divided by 52 multiplied by 8. So it's 8/52 of your net profit from last year is the amount of payroll that will be forgiven. Your loan amount was based on 10 weeks of payroll. So there will be an overage. What I'm recommending you do is once you get it, and again, if anybody has a struggle, once you actually get it, if you don't remember or didn't write it down, just call me. I'll tell you how to go through it. Actually, what I'll do is I'll write out a cheat sheet on what to do once your funds arrive, so you know how to divvy it up and how to do the math and how to pay yourself over the course of those few weeks. Right now, the rules say you have to start using it immediately when you get it, like that day. So you'll start that day, go 8 weeks, pay yourself 1/8 of the forgivable amount, which again is 8/52 of your Schedule C line 31. And trust me, I know how ridiculous that sounds, but that is the mathematical formula to figure that number out. The overage, what I'm suggesting you do is stick it aside for now. What's likely to happen in this second stimulus bill that gets approved, that they're fighting over right now, what's likely to happen is they will also include some new information changing the requirement for the 8/52 and allow you to utilize all of the funds, because they extended the use through 24 weeks, but they never extended the forgiveness through 24 weeks for independent contractors. So they're expected to clarify that loophole or that gap in common sense in the next bill that gets signed hopefully this week. I will be on top of that and make sure everyone understands that has been changed if it's been changed. And then you can take your entire loan amount, divide it by 8, and then just pay yourself that for 8 weeks. The taxableness of this right now, what I can tell you is the way the law was written, the CARES Act, we don't know what the next round is going to bring, which I think is called the HEALS Act. But the CARES Act said that these funds are not taxable. However, the IRS came in and said, yes, we agree that these funds are not taxable. However, we may not allow you to take for anything that you used PPP funds to pay, like your salary, they may not be deductible. So there may be a version of this that where your accountant next year says, okay, if you use $10,000 of money to pay your payroll, if your payments to yourself in your business are typically tax deductible, they may not be tax deductible next year, which is kind of a backdoor version of, yes, these are kind of taxable, but that remains unclear right now, Marie. The Congress is trying to fight with the IRS to say, well, we made it non-taxable. You can't now say it's not deductible because that's the equivalent of it being taxable. And yet that is what the information we have right now. So it remains a little bit up in the air as further things are passed to clarify all this stuff and figure out, because they passed the first thing so quickly. Lots of new laws will have to come to light to clarify the old law. So that's the best answer I can give on that right now. I'm pushing forward as if it's not taxable income. It may be non-deductible, which may have the same effect, but it's not taxable income the way the law is written right now.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Anybody else have questions?
Hey, Rick, just to clarify, when we do the one-liner, do you do the whole year or you're just kind of doing a couple of transactions?
I think either works. I think if you do all of 2019 and then year-to-date 2020, it gives them enough understanding to say, okay, this guy's been in business clearly before the date because he had all these closings in 2019 and he's continuing to be in business for 2020.
Should I give them both my New York also, since I do a lot of my business in New York also?
So this is a federal program. I think either one works. And as I'm saying this, I think I'm going to change the thought a second. Maybe don't give them 2020 because maybe don't give them 2020. You want to run production all of 2019 and through like February of 2020. Send that. I'm not sure if you're having like this rock star of a year, it's not supposed to matter. I just don't want you to do something that somebody scratches their head and says, I wonder why we're giving these funds to this person. They're having a rock star. So maybe don't do that. I apologize. I'm going to take back the all of 2020 year to date. Do January and February of 2020 to show that the business continued through the eligibility time. And that should be enough.
Okay,
Again,
perfect.
I don't really think it's going to matter, and yet I would hate for someone to come back to me and say they denied me because I have all these closings in May and June, and they're not granting it. That was never part of the deal. I just don't want you to run into trouble.
Okay,
Rick,
thank you.
do you think if you had a lot of transactions for the entire year of 2019, would you think half the year of 2019 would be okay?
So yeah, all you have to do, all that requirement is to show them that you were in business prior to February of 2020, right? There's no requirement that you had to be a pauper in 2019 in order to be eligible for these funds, right? So you could have been a rock star. Remember, chains like Chipotle and the LA Lakers got some of these funds. So what we earned in 2019 pales into comparison with what they earned. But I see your point, right? So it might be, Lori's making the point by saying without saying it, less is more in that scenario, right? Give them what they need to answer the question, like being on the witness stand. Don't give too much information. Point well taken. What else? Anything else? All right, guys. So I charge you all with going out and making those applications. I just so wholeheartedly encourage you to do that. I am available and willing to help in whatever way I can. If you get stuck during the application process, call or text me. If I can jump on a Zoom with you right then and there, I will. If I can't, we can kind of push it till I'm more available for this kind of stuff after 5 o'clock each day. And I'm happy to walk each of you through it each night if it takes the next couple of nights to get through everybody. So just let me know what you need, and I'm happy to jump on and help on a one-on-one basis. Other than that, let me know as you're approved. Let me know as your funds arrive, because I want to just celebrate that with you. And I appreciate you taking the hour to dive in. Thanks so much. And congratulations on making smart business choices. Again, this is a business owner's conversation, and business owners do whatever it takes to make sure that they have reserves for business continuity. And that's really what this discussion is about. Have a great afternoon. Text me if you need me. I'll see you soon.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great presentation.